want to go back to something Randy said because Randy shone the spotlight on the fact that the discrepancy between what a retailer thinks it has in terms of the unit quantity of a SKU in a store and what it actually has, that gap can be really, really big. And
Hmm.
there are a couple different ways of looking at it. One way is what you'd call exact match. So for
Hmm.
every 100 SKUs, how many of those 100 did your system of record match exactly what the unit quantity of that SKU was in the store? So exact match is interesting, but it only tells part of the story because when something doesn't match, it also doesn't tell you about the extent of the discrepancy.
Mm.
So you need to look at both of those things in concert. And there's another metric. It's called SMAPE. It's SMAPE. I didn't
Thanks
create.
for
Sounds like a
spelling that
Harry
out.
Potter. Sounds like we just walked into a Harry Potter novel, Marshall.
It does. It does. But basically, what SMAPE does is it looks at both of these things in concert. So it looks at the extent of the deviation. So if I expect to have 20 units of a SKU and I only have 18 units, I'm off by 2 out of 20, 10%. No big deal. I mean, obviously you want it closer, but
Hmm.
arguably it's not the end of the world. But if I'm expecting 5 units of a SKU and I only have three, I'm off by 40%. That's a really, really big deal. So I would suggest to executives take a real good hard look at the extent of your deficiencies because your inventory accuracy isn't nearly as good as you might think that it is.
Hmm.
And then start looking at the extent to which RFID fixes that big problem for you. Because
Okay.
as you mentioned earlier, Chris, it's great to have data science, but or maybe it was you, Ann. It's great to have data science,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's only as good as the data that it's working with.
Yeah, and what you can do with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.